Okay guys, we are diving back into the War of the Rohirrim box set, and in this video we are going to be tackling the Wild Men. These are some absolutely incredible sculpts, and if you're a fan of Lord of the Rings, the strategy game itself, you know that these miniatures previously were very difficult to get your hands on. They're one of those kits that not a lot of people bought them, so if you did need them and you were trying to find them secondhand, they were almost impossible, and if they were out there, they cost you a fortune. So I, for one, I'm super happy to have access to this highly detailed plastic one. I'm delighted, I can't wait. So I'm going to show you guys in today's video how to paint them up to a nice tabletop standard so that you can go ahead and paint your 24 from this box set yourself. Before I get into the video, I just want to say, as usual, a huge thank you to all of my active patrons. Without you guys, I could not continue doing what I am doing. You guys literally keep the lights on and the cameras rolling. If you want to get involved with that yourself, there's links down in the description below. You get access to a private Discord server where you can talk to me about your hobby on a daily basis, get involved with all the different events we also do over there, and I give you guys an extra video every single week. For instance, the model Targ from this set, General Targ, was a Patreon exclusive video last week. So if you want to see that video, like I said, linked down in the description below. Okay, without further ado, let's dive in and get this Wild Man painted. So this is the Wild Man miniature in person. That's kind of a weird way to say the Wild Man. Yeah. Anyway, this is one of the new sculpts from the War of the Rohirrim box set. It represents some of the hill tribes that exist in Lord of the Rings, some of the kind of displaced kind of peasantry that exists on the borders of Rohan that like to come in and cause some trouble every now and again. Now, these miniatures can be a little bit tricky to paint, honestly. Any model where it's just like layers on layers of different cloth, but all those cloths are very similar tones, but then they're also different, can be kind of a bit of a pain. I'm trying to find the right colors to use for contrast and then for layering so it all blends together, but yet it's still kind of all standoutish. Can be a bit of a pain. So I did my best. Hopefully this video will help you guys overcome that and be able to paint up your 24 miniatures from your War of the Rohirrim box set yourself. So yes, we started with some skeleton horde. We hit the wraps, the fur cloak coming off him, his greaves, stuff like that. After that we have Agros Dunes. And that's on things like the boots, it's like you can see his trousers kind of come up there. And then he's basically got two layers of skirts, basically. One is obviously part of his jacket, and then one comes down underneath that. So we did the top layer of it, that color, and we'll do the other layer of it, a different color. For that, we went for Basilicanum Grey. So we wanted to push away from the kind of tan colors a little bit. I think it's important to understand the idea that these are, like I said, they're peasants, basically. Not peasants, but like they're not well off. They do not have access to armories or tanners or, you know, fine clothing or fine fabrics or anything like that. So when you think about, like, you know, people who have access to that kind of thing, their models should be painted very richly, lots of warm tones, lots of color, reds and blues and, you know, gold and silvers and all that kind of stuff. Whereas with these guys, with the most basic thing, that's where you stick with the browns and the grays and the real drawn out, real drab schemes. And it sets the whole tone for the miniature. Gulman flesh for the skin. You got to find his skin buried under that mop of hair and in and around his beard. And then, of course, he has his arms on show, his hands. That's better for these guys. We're also not going to go into, I don't know, like too much detail. Like, we're going to get the contrast for the base coats. We're going to shade them all, and we're going to do a stage of highlighting on everything. But these are just the most basic infantry that you're going to have in your army. Yeah, there's not a lot to them. So you wouldn't want to spend a long time on each and every model. That would be, I think, a waste of your time. Gargaxir was brought in for the base coat of the hair, beard, and the bow itself. After this, we are then going to shade the entire miniature. And once again, I wanted to pull the tones darker. So normally here I would have gone for a brown or a sepia, but I'm going to go straight in for black. Just go really dark. Just like I said, to try to draw it all out, make it look as kind of grim as possible. When I start the layering process in a moment, I will spend a little bit of extra time on the skin though. I do, like I said, there's a very old famous saying / quote in Warhammer painting or miniature painting, and it's faces and bases. If you get a nice looking face and a decent looking base, then your model's going to look great on the tabletop, because it's the first thing everybody looks at when they pick up the model is the face and the base. Don't ask me why, it's just weird human nature stuff. So while that shade was drying, you notice that I did do the base itself. And then we moved on to Cadian Flesh Tone. As you can see, I've gone over to my heavy metal brush, which is like a size 0, small, fine pointed, very high quality brush. So I can go in there and get the kind of really nice detail on the face. Nice highlights, picking out the bridge of the nose and forehead, eyebrows, cheeks, and then obviously his arms and fingers and stuff like that. After that, this is an optional choice, but I've started doing it and painting my skin, and I really like it, which is where you get Berserker Bloodshade. Now, I go from the pot onto a wet palette, so it's a little bit thinned, and I do that coat all across the skin. It has a tiny bit of rosiness to it, a little bit of warmth in the skin. I find if you just go like, you know, base coat, like a layer on highlight, the skin just looks a little bit too cold, a little bit too dead almost. And the Berserker Bloodshade just helps pop it up a little bit. So I always put it between the mid-tone and the highlight. And the highlight being, of course, going back in with Kislev Flesh. And then once again, we're going back in with that fine brush. I'm going for the same parts we did before, but smaller. So just like a little bit on the tip of the nose, a little bit on the raised point of the eyebrow, tops of the cheek, a little bit lines on the forehead. Like when you're going to the hands and stuff, it's, you know, across the knuckles. Anywhere where it's kind of like a fold or a slightly raised area, you want to give it just a light highlight. And this will make these details kind of really jump out. Once you have a nice looking face, you can really go in and just, you know, one stage highlight the rest of it. So we're going to go for Storm Vermin Fur, which is a nice gray tone, but like I said, it's drab, so that this has a slight bit of brown to it almost. So once again, it washes out even more, makes it look more cheap, if you will, which is kind of the way I'm trying to go with. You notice there's not any metallics on this model at all. I didn't add anything because, like I said, I don't think they'd have access to smiths. There's no belt buckles, there's no, you know, fine tipping on the end of his bow. It's all, you know, sticks and twine and furs and that kind of thing. Okay, so with the brown done, or with the grey done, sorry, it's Storm Fur, we're going to go to Baneblade Brown, which is a nice, really nice drab brown. I don't use this color nearly enough. I don't have a lot of place for it because I like usually like richer, warmer tones. But for highlighting these bits like his trousers and that like second skirt thing, this worked out perfectly for it. Also like things like his boots, the like quiver of arrows and stuff like that. You're going to give those sections just a light highlight. After that, we're going to go for Carrick Stone. No, it's the air version. I explain this every time I pull this up. I really just need to get a normal pot of Carrick Stone to show you. Carrick Stone that I have is just pre-thinned because it's an air one. Works exactly the same as a normal paint. If you got normal Carrick Stone, you're laughing. And I'm using this to highlight each individual kind of tuft of fur on his pelt, and then the wraps that go around his ankles, his wrists, some on the quiver, stuff like that. The rope around his waist, that all got highlighted with that. And then Thondia Brown was brought in to highlight the beard and the hair and the bow on this guy. And with those last few brown bits done, that will be me calling the first Wildmen from the War of the Rohirrim box set complete. I'm going to add a nice little grass tuft, like a same color I did with the Rohirrim guy, so they match each other. Like I said, if you want to see me painting the general of this army, the General Tharg, he has been done as a Patreon exclusive. So if you want to check that out, there's links to my Patreon down below. You can see it for yourself. So here's the finished result. Like I said, I really like how he looks. Like I said, this is an individual model. There'll be 24 of them all clumped together running across the battlefield, but it's a standalone. Really happy with the final result. It's exactly what I wanted to. Like the rich colors of the Rohan versus the drab colors of him really are just like a mirror of each other, like a parallel, and I really like that. I'm super pleased. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I hope you're looking forward to the rest of the series on this box set. We'll have some kill team videos later on this week as well for you to look forward to. So some brutal and cunning stuff. So if you're excited about that, don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out on all of those uploads. Okay guys, here is the finished Wildman, looking kind of cool. Very pleased with that. Very excited to try and get the rest of them painted. I do want to get this entire set painted in the next couple of weeks and start playing some games with it. I'm kind of just waiting for the movie itself to come out. I feel like when the movie comes out and I get to watch it, I'll understand these characters and this story a little bit more, and I'll be more inspired to kind of dive in and really get it done. So I bet there's a bunch of people out there like me who get inspired for the Middle-earth game based on the movies or the books. Well, I have no real experience with the War of the Rohirrim storyline, so the characters in there don't really do anything for me just yet. So like I said, can't wait for the movie. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you do those standard 3 things that you should do for every video, for every creator that you enjoy their stuff, is like, comment, and subscribe. They cost you absolutely nothing, and they make a huge difference to our videos, to how many people get to see them, and how our channels grow. So they cost you nothing. If you want to help out the channel even more, there's links down in the description below, like I said, for Patreon. It's a big help. All right, guys, thank you so much for sticking around to the end of the video. I'll see you in the next one.